So debate is a really fun competition. You have multiple styles of debate, so it's not all the same thing. A lot of kids think that it's just that they show up and like stand on a stage in front of a room full of people and argue with each other, but that's not completely what it's about. It's more of an argumentative style, where for some of the styles, it's just you versus another kid in a classroom with a judge alone, or it's you and a buddy versus another buddy pair going and competing. But the most popular event that we have is called Student Congress, and you have a room full of like 20 kids that are all sitting in there. They all create fake pieces of legislation, and they have to both prepare speeches that explain what the legislation is, and then write speeches on each other's legislation, either supporting them or tearing them apart. So it requires a lot of research, it requires a lot of timing, it requires a lot of public speaking experience and learning how to move your body and use that as a tool along with speaking, reading, writing, analytic skills, so it's a lot.
So the style of debate I do is called Student Congress. So what it is that most of the competitors write legislation on 4 topics: domestic, international, economic, and Virginia, which pertains to the state overall. So it's hard to remember all the topics, but for some of them, domestic, it was like natural disaster relief and human trafficking, I believe. So it can get to very dark topics such as that.
Number 1.
Yes, he got first at state, which is incredible. Braden's been competing since he was in 8th grade. So he got started really, really young. He was terrified. He was, scared. He's like, I don't know if I can do this. And it was really cool watching him over the years, get to this point where now he's a tiger on the circuit. It's taken, a lot of work on his part, but it's been really cool watching him grow to that point, because I feel like debate is something that scares a lot of people because it is so intense and there's so much involved. But when you get started and if you really stick with it and train and practice the way that Braden has trained and practiced, you can get pretty good pretty quick.
What happens is that the competitors in the chamber decide on what order the legislation will be talked about, and it has to follow a certain format and all that. And then before the competition, you can do it during, but you would write speeches and such on the topic or on the legislation, on the legislation that is being presented. And then it's basically you have to fight for the chance to speak, because the presiding officer, which is elected by the chamber to run the whole chamber basically, will decide who speaks what based on how many they've spoken and how recent they've spoken. I did. It was very surprising because honestly I thought I did pretty average for a debate competition, but then everyone kept telling me I got first, and that was definitely shocking.
It was pretty cool, huh?
That's one of the things about debate that's tricky. I feel like for a lot of sports, like with basketball, there's a scoreboard on the wall. You can see exactly how your team is placing. But with debate, you really have no clue. Because for the style of debate that Braden does, it's dependent on how well he speaks, how many times he speaks, and how well he knows the rules. Because there's a very specific set of rules that you have to learn on how to run the room and when you're allowed to speak and when you're not. And so for Braden, it literally came down to a single point between him and second. Wow. And he won because he knew the rules better than the other participant apparently did. Or he just got lucky. But whatever the case, I don't care. He won.
I didn't stay for awards, but when people messaged me saying I got first, I definitely freaked out.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
How can someone get involved? Talk to me. Talk to me about debate. We really like growing the team. We're a pretty small team, but small but mighty, clearly. But just talk to me about it. We have a lot of trainings in the fall. Fall is our preseason, so we have a lot of training tournaments where we'll compete against a bunch of other schools. And then we move on toward the VHSL season, which starts in January. Cool. So, yeah.